Y'all ain't ready for this. Welcome back to another episode of the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we are off we're off. Let's roll, baby. We're here for where are we at right now? We're at week 9 already. Jeez, I feel like every single time I do the intro, we go over it's week 8, week 7, week 9. It's like the season is passing by so quickly, and it's a wonderful thing, but at the same time, it's a little bittersweet. You know what I mean? Because we don't have too many of these types of episodes left, but it doesn't matter because each episode is a special one. And like always, I'm Fab. I'm joined by Nak and Roger, two beautiful co-hosts we have with us right now. Nak is actually fresh off of the Green Bay versus Steelers game where he witnessed the Steelers lose live, but it's okay. He went there. He supported his team, and that's what's most important with this cute little Aaron Rodgers jersey that he got. It looks like a Transformer Bumblebee jersey there. But you know something, Nak, we respect it. You are a true diehard Steelers, second generation Steelers fan, might I add. So we got to give respect to that. We got to give props to that. But we'll talk about that a little bit later, I'm sure, or not. It's fine. Mind you,
we will. There will be a Steeler player.
We always mention the Steelers.
Always is. Yes.
We always mention the Steelers.
Not this week, boys. Not this week.
Oh, what a shame! What a shame.
I couldn't pick Aaron Rodgers again.
There it is. Before we do jump into this week's episode, ladies and gentlemen, we please have to remind you, our loyal listeners, you who have been listening to us since the very beginning, to please continue to follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter for your weekly fantasy breakdowns all season long. Send us your waiver questions. Send us your start sick questions. Send us your trade questions because the trade deadline is right around the corner. Don't forget that. Please send us all of your inquiries. Actually, I got one today for someone offered me JSN for Puka Nacua, and I refused.
Pretty good
and
refusal.
I'm like, I can't believe I'm refusing Puka Nacua, but that's what it is when you have JSN, I suppose.
Yeah.
Anyways, so those types of questions, you can send them over to us because we love getting that, and we love having conversations amongst ourselves to say, does this make sense? Is this good? What's the strength of schedule like for this guy? Please send those over right now, and don't be shy. Please forward all this information to other people that are not in the fantasy football community. We love bringing in new people. We love bringing in new faces, new names, new questions. Send it all over here. We got time. Don't worry about it. Even though we work and we have kids and all that stuff. Well, I don't, but still. Send one day, hopefully. Send all that stuff over. We'll be more than happy to help acclimate the new people into the fantasy football community. And we got a fantastic episode, like we usually do, but this episode in particular, Roger's going to start us off with an opening drive. We're going to go over some stock up, stock mid, stock down players, which is always interesting, especially during this part of the season right now, where a lot of teams right now, I think, are fighting for a playoff spot. So, this is going to be very interesting information for you to have for the rest of the season. Next, going to go over our love-hate. Yeah, most teams, not mine, unfortunately. Next team is going to go over the love-hates, sit starts for this week, and keep us honest and see how horribly some of us did last week, and we're gonna make right for week 9. But ladies and gentlemen, I have to please remind you all, don't forget to follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. I know I'm being repetitive, but it begs to be repeated. We need your engagement. We need you guys to send us all those questions, retweet, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But now I'm done talking. I'm going to let Roger kick us off with the opening drive.
Thank you, Fabius. Great intro today. And as you mentioned, the opening drive, stock report, a few risers, a few fallers, some offenses trying to find their footing heading into the stretch run. Let's get into it. Stock up, CJ Stroud and the Texans pass catchers. Guys, since week 4, CJ Stroud has quietly been very good. QB 11 overall, and he's thrown multiple touchdown passes in 3 of his last 4 games. He just torched the 49ers without Nico Collins. The ball distribution is what really impressed me. 5 different players with at least 4 catches and 30 yards. We saw rookies Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel flashing. Even Xavier Hutchinson went 5 for 69 and a score. Fun fact, they all went to Iowa State, which is really interesting. And they all played together at the same time. Woody Marks continues to outsnap, outtouch, and outproduce Nick Chubb as well. While the schedule does get tougher, Stroud appears to be back to his rookie year self. I know in the Bush League Huddle group chat, it's, does he suck? Does he not suck? Does he suck? Does he not suck? I think CJ Stroud is back. I think stock is way up for the Texans passing game moving forward.
I read a stat today quickly, and I was surprised when I read it. CJ Stroud is on pace to beat have his career best in passing touchdowns.
Yeah, it's not hard. It was 21 in the first year, right?
Yeah,
but he looked
he's on
so
pace
good
for 27 right now, and I was like, really? And then you look back, it's like he's playing well. Hopefully, a little bit can be sprinkled into Nico Collins. Just saying. Thank you.
And it's crazy what to think will happen when Tank Dell is back, maybe this year as well. So from one offense on the rise to one that's completely stuck in neutral, stock down, Vikings offense, Jordan Mason, Aaron Jones, and the quarterback struggles. Guys, Justin Jefferson is the WR16 in 2025. The Vikings offense is a mess, and it starts with the run game. So since scoring 24 points in week 3 versus Cincinnati, Jordan Mason has not reached 60 yards rushing. And in week 8 against the Chargers, he had 6 scrimmage yards on 5 touches. The lack of run game has had an effect on the pass. So if we call in 2024, Sam Darnold was second in the league in play action passing yards. Aaron Jones was awesome that year. This year, Carson Wentz, who's out for the year with a shoulder injury, he's 15th in play action passing yards. We know that's been an absolute staple in the Vikings KOC offense. So with the lack of good running back play, plus issues at quarterback, issues with the offensive line, Vikings offense is stock down until we see more from JJ McCarthy, again with Wentz out for the season. And speaking of quarterbacks who could stabilize a team, the Niners need their guy back in a hurry. I'm going to go stock medium. The Niners need Brock Purdy back ASAP. Let's not let Mac Jones fool you. He's not Brock Purdy. The Niners offense has looked stagnant. Injuries, poor line play, zero juice on the ground. Heck, Nak, you saw it. CMC, 8 carries, 25 yards against Houston, an absolutely putrid performance. When Purdy's healthy, we know what he could do. The team's completely different. Heck, last year he had over 60 carries, 350 rushing yards, and 5 touchdowns, and he could actually push the ball down the field compared to Mac Jones. We're seeing that George Kittle is back. Juwan Jennings is healthy. Ricky Pearsall and Brandon Ayuk are scheduled to come back soon. There's reason for optimism, but until Purdy's back, which is not a lock in week 9, it's stock neutral and trending down for the 49ers. Let's end on a positive note, guys, because one sophomore QB is starting to absolutely lighting up, and we talked about it in our pre-show. There might be some MVP buzz. Stock up with Drake Maye and the Patriots pass catchers. Believe it or not, guys, the Patriots offense finally has a pulse after all these years. It took Kendrick Bourne, Pop Douglas, Javon Baker, Kyle Williams, but the Patriots finally have been able to develop a young wide receiver. Kayshon Boutte has emerged as the WR1, logging a near 80% snap share and producing like it. Over the past 3 games, 223 yards, 4 touchdowns, and nearly 19 PPR points per game. Even if we go back to Stephon Diggs, he looks like a bona fide leader on the team. He looks engaged again. He leads the team in receiving yards. Hunter Henry, as well as sitting as tight end 8. Drake Maye himself is top 3 in fantasy points at the quarterback position. Massive credit goes to Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels. This offense looks organized, efficient, and balanced. Stock is up across the board in New England. That's your week 9 opening drive stock report. Fab?
Imagine what Cam Ward could be if he had Mike Vrabel as coach.
I was just going to say that. They had him in the building.
It just shows you how important coaching is.
100%.
Last year, Drake Maye was good, right? But he didn't have the coaching staff to properly help him flourish. And you're seeing that right now with Mike Vrabel. But my God, it's just a lot of these quarterbacks are so good, but they just don't have the right guidance and leadership in the locker room from a coaching perspective.
And it also shows.
No,
sorry.
Good for Drake Maye. Good for the Patriots. This is great to see.
And again, it also shows it takes time, and QB play is volatile. Like last year was all about Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels can't stay healthy at all. Mm-hmm. Drake Maye looks really good. Caleb Williams is inconsistent. We're seeing with the Panthers, Bryce Young. I think they kind of miss him. So really interesting stuff. So again, the stock report: Stroud is rising. Vikings falling apart. 49ers need Purdy. Patriots might actually be back. Nak, take it away. Who you loving? Who you hating? Who's getting benched this week?
Thank you, Raj. As always, a great opening drive. And now for the main event, the event that you've all been waiting for, the love-hate segment going into week 9. So before we get into the love-hate segment, to just remind you of the 4 teams on bye in week 9. You have the Browns, Jets, Eagles, and Bucks. So be sure to check out your lineups for that. Record last week, guys, not too hot. We had a couple of good weeks in a row and now kind of faltered in week 8 with a 5-9 record, bringing our total record to 58, 55-2. So we'll start off with you, Fab. You went 1-3. Jordan Love, massive love. I got to see that front row center. I think there was a time where he completed 20 straight passes. That is not a typo. 20 straight passes. Definite love over there. I think he scored, depending on what format you use, upwards of 33 points on Sunday Night Football. You did lose out on Evan Ingram. And fun fact, they brought in 41-year-old Mercedes Lewis for a tryout today, the Denver Broncos. So that's pretty telling on the Evan Ingram front. You also lost on the aforementioned Drake Maye hate. I'm sure you got a lot of hate for that hate.
Very happy about
as
that.
well as another guy we spoke about earlier, Mr. CJ Stroud, who had a fantastic performance on Sunday. Raj, you went 3-2. Missed out on your Matthew Golden. I think Christian Watson took the cake on that one.
I'm dropping him. I can't with Matthew.
Yeah,
Golden.
I think I have him in a couple leagues, and I'm
He's
done with
droppable
Matthew
right
Golden.
now.
I'm not sure why they drafted him in the first round to not use him, but
I don't get it.
I digress. You did hit on Alec Pierce, and did miss out on the Zay Flowers. I think you hit on Zay Flowers by 2%, right? 2 points. This might be a mistake, but I believe you hit on Jay Flowers.
Oh, so I'm 4-1.
So he's 4-1 then.
Beautiful surprise.
Actually, no, you're right. You lost by 0.2 because he outscored his projections by 0.2. I'm very sorry. Sorry, guys. We all get confused.
Thank you for getting my hopes up.
I'm very sorry. You did win on your hate on Quentin Johnson because I don't think he even had a target.
That should count for 2 win. He got 0 points.
He got zero targets. Like not even targeted.
Nice goose egg in your matchup.
And you did hit on the hate of your boy Theo Johnson. That wraps up our week 8 love hate. Definitely going to do better in week 9. Let's get this ball rolling. Raj, how about you get us started with some quarterbacks you love and hate this week?
Yes, I'm going to start with Old Man Winter, Joe Flacco, QB 13 versus Chicago. Vintage Joe is back. They went from one Joe to another in Burrow to Flacco. Flacco's been awesome for the Bengals lately. QB 6 and QB 7 finishes the last 2 weeks against Pittsburgh and the Jets. Now he gets a Bears defense that is missing all 3 of their cornerbacks, Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson, and Kyle Gordon. Even Spencer Rattler and Snoop Hundley, we saw they were able to look pretty competent against the secondary. So imagine what Flacco could do with Jamar Chase, who's getting absolutely peppered with targets. And Knack, your T. Higgins, much mentioned T. Higgins and Bush League Huddle, finally heating up. So I don't think Flacco was just a desperation play. He's a must start, I think, in single QB and 2 QB leagues this week. Honestly, I'd start him over the likes of Caleb Williams, Jackson Dart, even Jared Goff. Vintage Joe is absolutely rolling right now.
Honestly, he's got receivers, man, and it's making a whole lot of difference. I will say he played the Jets and the Steelers in back-to-back week, 2 defenses that are absolutely not doing great this year. Definitely, like you mentioned, the cornerbacks not being there is definitely going to help. But I'd be curious to see him against like a top 15 defense and see how the magic is.
I agree with you, Nak, 100%. And Raj, that's a great call. Joe Flacco has understood the assignment. He understands that he has to just throw it to Jamar Chase and on occasion T. Higgins. Yeah. And as long as he stays upright in the pocket and can see downfield and doesn't get pressured too much because he's in his 40s, right? So, mobility is obviously a factor. It was never a strong suit. Mind you, I think did he score a rushing touchdown this weekend? Anyways, all that to say,
I don't think so.
I think he scored from the 1 yard line. Anyways, all this
He
to say,
did. You're right. He
yeah,
did. He did.
yeah.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco is firmly in the conversation for top 12 rest of season, honestly, and I can't believe I'm saying that right now in 2025, in the year of our Lord.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't like backcast his way into another comeback player of the year award either. I will lose a lot of money on Daniel Jones being comeback player of the year. The last thing I'll say about this, just while we're on the topic, is Manti Te'o said something really cool about Joe Flacco on Good Morning Football. It's just he's a professional quarterback. Like veteran quarterbacks, they just understand like play calling concepts.
Yes.
So if a play caller just calls a concept, he knows where the players will be. Versus a lot of the QBs now, it's everything is schemed. Everything is I have to scheme everything to get open. Versus just Flacco's a professional. Like he stepped in right away and he understood what to do. He understood immediately route combinations and whatnot. So
That's a great point, and just
It's very
look
true.
at all the older quarterbacks. They're all doing the same thing. That's what they're doing.
yeah,
They know the game of football, and they're using that to their advantage.
Well,
totally.
except for Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
cooked. His arm's cooked, man.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
he's. I think the Achilles and his arm is just shot. Um, Second love is Mr. I hate to say it, and it's a tough one, but Mr. Kyler Murray, QB10 at Dallas, the
Wow, out
ultimate
of
boom.
Raj's mouth.
Yeah, the ultimate boom or bust homecoming. So, funny fact: Kyler Murray is actually 9-0 in his career at AT&T Stadium. This spans high school, NFL, and college. So he's a Texas native, and his QB10 ranking. Look, it looks nice on paper. It's not a lock. Look, he's finished outside the top 15 QBs in every single one of his 5 starts this season. Funny enough, he's either been QB 16 or QB 22 in each 5 starts. And you
Wow.
could argue Jacoby Brissett actually made this offense look better. My argument is that coming off the bye, Jonathan Gannon, first of all, he doubled down. He said Kyler is the unquestioned starter. Secondly, the Cardinals offense, it did show signs of life with Brissett. More play under center, way more play action. Their play action rate increased as well, and you saw better efficiency from their offense. I think leveraging that will help Kyler more, especially with Bam Knight giving the run game a pulse. The other argument is we know how bad the Cowboys defense has been. They've been a goldmine for fantasy quarterbacks. For fantasy quarterbacks, they're giving up 25 points per game to quarterbacks, the most in the NFL. They're also giving up the most passing and rushing touchdowns to QBs, and the most passing and rushing yards to QBs as well. So if you need a must start this week, go with Kyler. If for some reason he can't go because of the foot issue, plug in Brissett. So I'm counting this one as a Kyler Brissett combo, depending on which one plays.
That's fair.
I like it.
In terms of QBs, I hate this week. I hate Bo Nix, QB 14 at Houston, looking to not chase the hot streak with him. So it's been documented how I feel about Bo Nix, but I have to admit, fair is fair. He's been absolutely awesome the last 5 quarters of football. However, this Texans defense is not the one to test that against. Houston is only giving up 11 fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. That's the fewest in the league. They've also allowed the 4th fewest passing yards. Nix doesn't get much help on the ground either from his side. The Texans have just allowed 6 total rush attempts all season to quarterbacks. So if you're debating Nix, I'd pivot to, for some reason, Jordan Love is QB 16 on Fantasy Pros this year, which is this week, which is nuts. There's also Sam Darnold, QB 17, I believe, against the Commanders, or even his
Redskins.
opponent. Yes, Redskins. Even his opponent, CJ Stroud, who will be facing Bo Nix. CJ Stroud is going to be facing a Broncos defense without Pat Surtain. I like him a lot again this week. So don't get caught chasing the points with Bo Nix. I think this is a trap week for him.
Great call.
I think that call, especially for CJ Stroud versus Denver, I think a lot of people are going to see that matchup and think it's not a good start. But PS2 being out, and I think it's a multi-week absence.
4 to
if I'm not
6 weeks.
mistaken. Yeah. So I think, you can also, to piggyback off that, I think CJ Stroud's a decent start too this week.
And Dallas picked on Riley Moss. I always say Riley Cooper. They picked on Riley Moss last week. So,
Yeah.
We said we weren't going to mention the Steelers, but I will mention the Steelers. I am fading Aaron Rodgers, QB 19 versus Indianapolis. The pressure is coming, Mr. Rodgers. So, fading Rodgers against the Colts ball hawking defense. This defense gets to the quarterback after the throw more than anyone in the league. So they count that as a knockdown in football stats. They rank 5th in pressure rate and 2nd in interceptions, and force offenses into 3rd downs at the 3rd highest rate. Nak, I'm sure you know what the problem is with the Steelers. They're one of the worst teams in the league at converting 3rd and long. Rodgers gets the ball out faster than anyone because he doesn't want to get hit. And I think Indy's going to make him really uncomfortable. If you're looking for a safer play upside, I even go with Trevor Lawrence against Las Vegas this week over Rodgers. I expect a lot of pressure, maybe some turnovers, and another frustrating stat line from Aaron Rodgers this weekend. And that's it for love-hate on the QB side for me.
Yeah, I tend to agree with this call. Definitely not feeling good about that Indianapolis game. Although his stats, he's not the problem, but
I agree.
No, he's not.
he's
Yeah, he's
second
not.
in TDs only to Stafford and Mahomes, and
So
he's passer rating 108, completing
yeah,
68% of his passes.
totally.
Albeit, like you said, they're shorter passes, but
I'm banking on this is a fade. I'm not banking on him having necessarily bad stats. I'm banking on the fact that it's a high pressure team.
Yeah.
He gets the ball out quick, and they're ball hawks. They intercept. There's an interception, at least 2 interceptions every week with them. Like it's a very fun defense to watch.
I think best team in football right now.
Yeah, bar none.
Yeah, 100%.
Bar none.
Thank you, Raj, for your love-hate QBs. Fab, why don't you keep the ball rolling with the running backs this week? What do you got?
Oh, we're going to keep the ball rolling, all right. So my first love is Tyrone Tracy Jr. versus San Francisco.
Yeah, of course.
My boy Tyrone Tracy Jr.
I would have bet the mortgage on that.
Well, how did I not see it coming?
Was it that obvious? Was it that obvious?
Oh my
hey,
God.
it's a good
I'm
matchup.
a mile away.
It's a good matchup. So before
How
we
many
begin,
fumbles is he going to get?
Before we begin, we have to pour one out for our boy Cam Scatterbo.
Yes,
that was just an ugly
His ankle
injury.
went 270 degrees.
Yeah, jeez.
Yeah,
but anyways, it's next man up for the Giants, just like everyone else in the NFL. And this next man up ran rampant last year when he took over full-time RB duties from Singletary. This week he gets the Niners, which don't scare you one bit, actually. San Francisco been giving up the 14th most fantasy points to running backs, but even more exciting, 3rd most receptions. And don't forget that Tracy is a former wide receiver. So in limited action this year, when he's been involved in the passing game, and don't forget he was injured and then he took a backseat to Cam Scatterbo, he's been targeted at least 3 times in all of the games where he's had receptions and he's been targeted. So the Giants we know they're not good, but they have a better O-line than last year. Andrew Thomas was out for the entirety of the 2024 season. So it's a better QB play, and they're playing twice the amount of RPO versus last year. So 9% last year versus 18% this year. I love Tracy as a start in actually all formats. Right now, Fantasy Pros has him as running back 15. I think he's going to get volume. He's going to be a playmaker for Dart this week. I would start him over guys like Travis Etienne, J.K. Dobbins, Rico Dowdle, Ashton Genty, seriously, and even maybe Jalen Ward.
Genty.
Yeah. Ashton Genty has a tough matchup versus the Jaguars.
You're going to start getting some hate mail at your house, bro.
That's fine. I'll give you my address. Come find me. Meet me outside. How about that? And even Jalen Warren, I would consider. Jalen Warren has a touch matchup. We mentioned already versus Indy, but I like Tyrone Tracy in all formats. He's a must start for me. I really do.
They're missing Fred Warner and Nick Bosa like crazy, and also all the guys that they let go last year.
Yeah. Half the team.
Their defense is decimated. It's decimated. It's not the San Francisco of old, that's for sure.
Is this game in New York?
I think it is. It's a 1 o'clock start.
Yeah,
right?
it is in New York.
Yeah, so it's in New York. Yeah.
Running back 15. What is going on?
Yeah, they're already hyping him up on on Fantasy Pros, which is good. So I guess it shows that I'm not that crazy.
Tyrone Tracy, running back 15. Jordan Love, QB 16. What's going on with these rankings?
They're wild. Sense. The only I'd be worried about the little Devin Motor Singletary.
He's gonna get.
There's a situation there.
Yeah, he's gonna get in for sure. I think that's gonna be like a 70-30 split, to be honest with you. But I think that PPR play from Jackson Dart, because when the play breaks down, which happens often for the Giants, Dart does a pretty good job with making sure that the play doesn't fall flat. So, anyways, that's one of my loves, and he's also a must start, like I mentioned. Let's move on to the second one. We got Zonovan Bam Knight versus Dallas. So a little bit piggybacking right on you there, Raj. So I guess you should start everybody versus Dallas Cowboys. It's do or die versus Dam. Oh boy, let's restart that. It is do or die versus Bam.
Damn night.
Damn Knight. It's top end matchup versus the Dallas D, giving up the second most fantasy points to running backs. Surrendered 10 total touchdowns on the season to running backs. So that's 7 rushing and 3 receiving. Bam's last 2 opponents in relief for Trey Benson were Green Bay and Indianapolis. Tough defenses, and he had Michael Carter to share the backfield with, but not anymore, because Michael Carter was recently put on waivers, right? So the last 3 weeks...
That was the Jets' Michael Carter, I believe.
It's the same Michael Carter.
The same Michael Carter.
Is
but
it?
He was recycled.
No.
It's weird.
Okay.
Yeah, he used to play for the Jets. Now he plays for the Carolina.
There's 2 Michael Carters in the league. That's why I'm saying that.
Oh, are there? Okay. Well, the one we're referring to is the one who used to play for the Cardinals, Arizona Cardinals. But like I was saying, last 3 weeks, his route participation percentage has gone up. His snap share has gone up. His carry percentage has gone up. And this is his last chance, I think, to make room for himself along Trey Benson when he finally returns. So fire him up. He's another guy that I think needs to be started in all formats. Right now, Fantasy Pros has him as, well, he's a little bit further down the rankings over
22.
Here. 19 on a PPR. But yeah, I guess 22 and a half PPR. I'm starting him ahead of both Minnesota running backs, Woody Marks, Bill Krosky Merritt, who's averaged about 3.6 fantasy points in the last 3 games. Yeah, he's done, but still, he's still being ranked. Kenneth Walker III, Alvin Kamara, Chuba Hubbard, Ramondre, and Henderson, because Atlanta is a very tough defense as well.
So just to clarify, following the Week 8 buy-ins on CBS Sports, courtesy of RotoWire, the Cardinals released Carter from their 53-man roster on Monday, but the 50-year running back will end up sticking around in the organization. He is on the practice squad.
Okay, so he's on the practice squad. So I guess they're probably making room for Trey Benson ultimately.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think this is this good week to have Bam Knight, but then it's back to Trey Benson.
It's probably the last week. He could easily be elevated though and play as well on Sunday, Carter. So just something to watch.
Yeah, that's true. All the same though, I think, and I think we saw it in the second week where Trey Benson was out. I forget if it was I think it might have been week 7, where randomly Michael Carter was like, no, he's not the starter anymore. Now it's Bam Knight. And I think, Knack, you called it out too. I think he would be the ultimate starter. Everyone was rushing to get Michael Carter, but then Bam Knight was just there. And looks like that's the way to go. So those are my 2 loves this week. So for me, they're must starts in all formats. I like them. Great matchups. And considering the other options that are out there right now, I think you can really hit pay dirt with these 2 guys. I'm just going to move on to my hates now. First one being Rico Dowdle versus Green Bay. Okay, so a few things to consider here. 1, Green Bay defense is good. Their offense is humming. Carolina doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell, in my opinion, of remaining competitive in this game. So that kind of equals a negative game script. Carolina offense will be able to sustain drives, expect a lot of 3-and-outs, and then eventually playing from behind, so it's less carries for running backs. Green Bay defense are giving up the second least amount of points to running backs. They've only surrendered 2 rushing touchdowns, and none since they came back from their bye in week 5. On top of that, Rico Dowdle's snap percentage, carry percentage, route percentage, target percentage have all gone down from week 7 to week 8. So obviously, they went down from 6 to 7 when Chuba Hubbard came back. But on top of that, from him being involved in the offense, they're really turning into a split backfield. Canales did come out today or yesterday and said that they want to have Dowdle more involved, but honestly, miss me on the game where that happens, and I don't think it's going to happen versus Green Bay. So Dowdle is a sit for me in 2 running back formats. I only see value in him as a flex, but I'm okay with sitting him for a wide receiver 3 or 4 that has an interesting matchup, especially in a PPR league. Crazy, I know, but it's a committee backfield versus a tough defense and a poor offense. So this is one scenario that I would happily avoid.
Fab, your hate and your love in Knight and hate in Rico are ranked 19th and 20th. They're back to back in Fantasy Pros, and then afterwards it's you like them or
I much prefer Bam's matchup and his carry outlook versus Dowdle versus Green Bay, because it's a 50-50 split. And yeah, fine, Dowdle has been more explosive, but Green Bay defense is very good. And then you have to figure about how the negative game script is going to be affecting that, right? So if
And
you have
if
other more interesting options, I mean, yeah, I would look elsewhere.
and if you were a Dowdle and Hubbard owner, what would you do?
If I'm a Dowdle and Hubbard owner, I have to question my life choices. If I had to choose one to start, it would be Dowdle, just because he's shown that he can be the more explosive back. But again, you're getting a handful of carries. I'm not optimistic about the running game versus Green Bay at all.
Yeah.
And I'm even less so optimistic when you have to decide between Dowdle and Hubbard which one to start, right? I mean, this is like rostering Tyjae Spears and Ricky and Pollard.
I think the last thing for me, if Bryce Young sits, I think both get even more down the rankings because
Yeah.
Dalton was an absolute sitting duck last week
Did
against
not
like
look good.
the Bills defense. And what we ended up seeing is Bryce Young is better than we think he is, and he has a better impact against a kind of pass rush where he's able to evade the rush. So
Yeah, and that
I
is
think
a
it'll be
huge
interesting to see if he
component.
starts or not.
I agree. It's a very huge, that is a huge component. So we're gonna go on to my last hate for the week. Alvin Kamara at LA Rams. This one hurts a little bit. So he's a Fantasy Pros RB23. Super tough matchup. The Rams have given up 0 rushing touchdowns and only 1 receiving touchdown to RBs this season so far. Kamara has not looked like himself at all. He's averaging 3.6 yards per carry. He's on pace for a career worst in receiving yards as well. New Orleans are in a bit of a dysfunctional offensive mess right now, with Tyler Shuck is slated to start so that hopefully he can create some sort of a spark that Kellen Moore is looking for. But the matchup isn't there. Last week versus Tampa Bay, they had to abandon the rub pretty early, so expect a similar negative game script to work against Kamara this week. I'm sitting him in all formats. He's only had 2 top 20 finishes this year, only one since week 3. In the other weeks where he didn't finish in the top 20, he's finished as on average RB27 or worse. So I think it's time to look elsewhere for Alvin Kamara. I think he's a sit, and I think he's a sit until further notice too.
Yeah, I think everyone thought his demise was going to come last year, and then he had kind of like that resurgent year. He was kind of one of your league winners last year. Everyone got him pretty late, and then this year kind of went a little higher than I guess
Well,
should have. And
he started hot this year, and when I say started hot, I mean like his first 2 weeks were good, and that his top 220 finishes, like they were both in the first 3 weeks, right? So like he started really, really well, and there was a lot of optimism, and I guess it's just a matter of quarterback play. I mean, listen, Tyler Shuck could maybe throw it to Kamara 15 times on Sunday. We don't know; it's not impossible, right? Like,
sucks to
but
see
at the
that
same
That doesn't
time,
happen. They have barely thrown it to him this year.
and that was with Spencer Rattler, right? So maybe the change in quarterback might change something, but at the same time, do you really want to take that chance if you don't have any other options, obviously? But there are guys behind him that could, like that are more interesting, and like Brashard Smith, running back 37 right now, but we know that Isaiah Pacheco is going to be out for the next few weeks, so it's probably going to be more of a split backfield between him and Kareem Hunt, and it's a better offense. Wouldn't you rather take a chance with him over Alvin Kamara? It's crazy to say.
I'm
Or is it?
starting. Yeah, I agree with you for sure. And I'm starting Kenneth Walker the third, even though he's not getting any goal line carries.
Yeah.
And I have in another league I have Ramondre Stevenson, which I would also rather start over
oh yeah,
Kamara.
hands
So.
down,
Yeah.
hands
100%.
down.
Would you start Kareem Hunt over Alvin Kamara this week?
Potentially,
That's where personally no.
He's
he still
ranked
looks
higher.
good. He still looks
Yeah,
good.
like
And he's been scoring.
yeah.
It's true. Yeah,
He finds
He's
the end
gonna
zone,
he's
man.
gonna back up into
Well,
the end zone.
I think that's where like
You
it's
gotta
you want it
tier it to the offenses
exactly.
that get closer to the goal line,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And do I see the Saints getting close to the goal line versus a very good Rams defense? No, I don't.
Yeah. Thank you, Fab, for the
It's a
running backs.
way different skin tone.
Yes, you said
Oh
it.
my god.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, come on, man. I haven't been to Bronze Ash in like 2
Come on,
years.
come on, man. That deserves
You're
a
gonna need a
Xavier
little bit
Leggett.
more than
man.
That
Bronze
deserves
Ash.
an Xavier Leggett. Come on,
Just
man.
because I got the coon accent doesn't mean I don't come on. So I'm like, come on, man. Just got coons with the raccoons. You know what I'm saying?
Excellent. It's just that accent is just excellent. Well done. Well done.
I'm waiting for him to turn into like an actual every week starter so I can use this accent way more
Yeah,
often.
don't you can hold your breath on that.
It's not. Yeah,
Yeah, unfortunately.
slow your roll.
I will
Slow your roll,
keep
man.
this party flowing and give you my loves first for the wide receiver position. So, first wide receiver on the board here is going to be your boy Raj, Mr. DJ Moore, wide receiver 35 at the Bengals. So, I know, Rod, you were a big advocate of this guy, and you actually convinced me as well at the beginning of the year, but he has not had the bounce back year people were hoping for. And he's only had 2 games with double digit fantasy points and only 1 TD on the season. And that came all the way back in week 3. He did see, however, his highest targets in week 8 with 7 and had a decent stat line, but again, still relatively disappointing for DJ Moore. But again, his snap share is still very healthy at right around averaging 90% over the last 3 games. And he has a juicy matchup versus a Bengals team that has given up 38, 31, 27, and 37 points in the last 4 games. So, and while they've been also very generous to multiple wide receivers at the same time. So I definitely love this matchup that could turn into a shootout quickly. And you also have the likes of like Romeo Dobbs as wide receiver 33, Quinton Johnson, wide receiver 34, Xavier Worthy, wide receiver 31, and even Khalil Shakir, wide receiver 30, that I love much less than DJ Moore on Sunday.
It's put up or shut up for him in
Yeah.
this against this.
I just have a feeling he goes off this week.
Mm-hmm.
The matchup is there. The Bengals, like I said, they're very generous to they give up sometimes to 3 fantasy wide receivers they'll give up double digit points. So I definitely love the matchup, and like you said, it's now or never for DJ Moore.
Knack, I have in Bush League Marvin Harrison Jr., Drake London, and Jordan Addison. Obviously, London is like a staple. Addison's been really good.
I like Addison there probably over DJ Moore.
You do,
But
yeah.
Harrison's close. I understand those stats with Kyler, but Harrison too is Mr. Inconsistent, right?
Yeah,
Harrison's
and
very
it's
inconsistent.
very
But
inconsistent.
it's that matchup though versus again Dallas cannot be ignored because Dallas don't have a single player
It's
that can play
close.
secondary right now.
It's definitely closer than the other two for sure with DJ Moore. But at wide receiver 35, I really love the value you're getting
Well,
with.
he's then Roger. He will be a flex play for you.
I'm putting Woody Marks this week at flex.
Yeah, I don't know
I
why you keep
disagree with
benching
that
Woody Marks.
100%.
What?
I don't know
Yeah,
why you keep benching Woody Marks.
it wouldn't have mattered last week, but I'm not benching him again this week. But like I like your call, Knack. I think
That's a no for me.
it's so tethered to Caleb Williams, which it's been rough the last 2 weeks, man. Like against two
but
really bad defenses.
when you get to Cincinnati, you all look like stars, right?
Yeah,
Look, Justin
get right
Fields.
game.
Justin Fields went off last week. Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah.
33 fantasy points the week before against Cincy. So someone's got to catch the ball, and I think he becomes benefactor of that.
Roger, I'm not playing you this week, so I have nothing to lose nor gain in this. I would start DJ Moore over Woody Marks. That's just my 2 cents.
Interesting.
And I would like to revisit this next
Sounds like
week.
reverse psychology. So
Nope, absolutely not. I would like to revisit this next week to see who finished with more fantasy points.
I think you're reversing reverse psychology. So
I'm not giving you a reverse Cortland over here.
I'm going to start DJ Moore.
The Cortland are not happening
because I think you're thinking that I'm going to do the opposite, but then you're doing reverse psychology of me.
You guys are reverse psychology.
I don't like. I'm not a fan of Woody Marks in this offense lately. Like Nick Chubb is not going away, man.
Yeah, and like
he's not going away, and this is not a fun matchup.
Yeah.
It's versus Denver. Like I think CJ Stroud might be willing to throw a little bit more. Anyways, you do what you want. I said my piece on the record as well because this is being recorded for all you wonderful people out there. So just know that,
Somehow we're talking about running backs during Nax
Yeah,
wide
Fab has
We're
to
receiver
always
having
make everything
conversation.
fun.
about him.
We're
I'm going to
having
go ahead
fun.
and say my second love of the week at the wide receiver position. It's actually going to be Malik Washington, wide receiver
Mm.
56 versus the Ravens on Thursday Night Football.
I
To
like this.
me, I think wide receiver 56 is absolute madness just on his targets over the last 4 weeks. He's seen a minimum of 5 targets a game since Hill's injury. The fantasy numbers don't jump off the page, but he's also faced 3 of the top 5 fantasy defenses versus wide receivers in the past 4 weeks. And he gets a Ravens defense giving up points in bunches to wide receivers. They've also allowed 3 different wide receivers to score 10 plus fantasy points in 4 of their 7 games this season. And with Tua not being able to see his receivers downfield, I'm predicting Washington to have his best game of the season and find the end zone in consecutive weeks. And I don't know, some of these players going ahead of him are kind of head scratchers to me. You've got Keon Coleman, wide receiver 52, Darnell Mooney, wide receiver 44, Cooper Cup at wide receiver 48, and even Darius Slayton at wide receiver 51. I'm firing up Malik Washington ahead of all of these guys.
Love the call.
Yeah, love it. Good call.
We've been shitting a lot, or excuse me, sorry, I didn't want to. I'm not no swearing, but we've been poo pooing a lot on the Dolphins this year, and I guess a lot of it is warranted. But I think this is a good spot for Malik Washington on Thursday night.
It's a good matchup, and Tua has been slinging it. And this is another one that they might be playing by behind, especially if Lamar's back. So they're gonna have to throw a ton.
The Ravens are favored by 8.5 in this one.
I mean, that's a
Crazy,
little.
crazy spread.
That's that.
Crazy
That's
spread.
high. That's a little bit too big for me. That's what she said.
So those are my loves. Those are my loves for the week. My first hate this week, Raj, is going to be kind of piggybacking on your Bo Nix. I have Cortland Sutton at the Texans, wide receiver 21. So this is my spicy pick of the week, but hear me out. Apart from Jackson Spin, the Jigma, and Puka all the way back in week 1, the Houston Texans defense is legit and playing wide receivers very tough. Those are the only 2 wide receivers to post over 12.9 fantasy points, and they've only allowed 5 total wide receivers to reach double-digit fantasy points in 7 games. So Sutton is one guy that usually there's a must start week in and week out, especially in 3 wide receiver leagues. But I would channel my expectations in this one, and he could be in for a very, very rough afternoon against that stout defense. If you're looking for options elsewhere, I like guys like Travis Hunter, wide receiver 25, T. Higgins, wide receiver 23, and even Jordan Addison at wide receiver 27.
I like this. Do you think Troy Franklin maybe doesn't get Derek Stingley?
Yes, this is a potential. I think. I just think he's going to struggle, which will definitely open things up um, for Franklin, as we
Even
saw
in
kind of last week. He kind of went off.
the last 2 weeks, you've seen Troy Franklin and Cortland Sutton's snap share, target share, all that stuff really, really equalize.
Mhm.
And I don't think that's by accident. I mean, Cortland Sutton was like wide receiver 11 on the year in a PPR league right now. Like he's fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's more of how they want to maybe get Troy Franklin involved more and have those 2 wide receivers, and maybe Bo Nix is finally getting that chemistry going with Troy Franklin as well. But from a from from a defensive perspective, yeah, Sutton's is a hard start this week. Very tough. Derek Stingley is no joke. Houston defense is no joke.
Then my second hate for the week is going to be. I don't know why he's ranked so high, but I do not like his matchup this week. Is going to be Kayshon Boutte, wide receiver 44 versus the Falcons. So once again, just hear me out. He's been a fantasy darling over the last 3 weeks, as you mentioned earlier, Raj. The issue in this matchup is volume to me. So he's seeing about only 4 targets a game, and he's averaging 23.3 yards per catch over the past 3 weeks. The bad news in this matchup is Atlanta is only allowing an average of 10.3 yards per catch to wide receivers in 7 games this season. So take away the deep ball, and Boutte might struggle to put up those solid numbers in week 9. And Atlanta has also not given up 100 yards to a single wide receiver this season. They gave up 99 to Waddle last week. So, and I feel like there's a bounce back coming here from a terrible showing versus the Dolphins last week. Their defense had been really, really good up until that point. And there's players that I kind of like a little bit more than him this week. Alec Pierce against the Steelers. That secondary has not looked good. He's wide receiver 43. I don't know how to say this guy's name, but is it Kamir DK? I don't think it's
Yeah,
Dyke.
DK.
I think
Yeah.
it's DK. Wide receiver
Don't say what
47.
don't say the other thing you were thinking.
Even Jalen Noel, wide receiver 49, who's looked better. And like you
Yes.
said, with Stroud. So
Yes.
I think those guys will have a better floor than Kayshon Boutte. Kayshon Boutte, should I say? He's
Booty,
kind
booty,
of
booty, booty.
he's kind of reliant on that deep ball
Yeah.
and may not come this week.
This is a very fair point, Knack. And just to piggyback on that, the Falcons have the second highest blitz rate in the league. So I think the Patriots' offensive line has been pretty good, but when you need those routes to develop and the team is blitzing against you, it's hard to wait on those routes to develop.
I reserve having any comments towards Drake May in that offense, but I wish you the very best, Snack. I learned my lesson last week.
It's not has nothing to do with Drake May. He's just a really downfield threat, and Atlanta is not allowing those downfield. It's half of his yards per catch, right? That they're giving up. So I think he's just in for a tougher afternoon. I don't see a 20-point fantasy outlook on Kayshon Boutte, where I could definitely see that happening for like an Alec Pierce, for example.
Alec Pierce just needs one catch. And
Literally.
he typically always gets it.
Yeah. And there's going to be a busted coverage somewhere on Sunday. So
for sure.
He could probably be the recipient of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So that'll do it for my love-hate on the wide receivers. Raj, why don't you give us a tight end you love or hate this week?
Yes, I am hating Dalton Kincaid versus Kansas City. It is Bills Chiefs week. So Dalton Kincaid looks like a name you may want to start, but I wouldn't fall for it. He's playing just 50% of the snaps on a run-heavy Bills team loaded with a lot of mouths to feed. His route rate even dropped from 55% before the bye, and he was injured for a few weeks, and it was just at 32% upon his return in week 8 against the Panthers. And he only played 12 snaps behind Dawson Knox and Jackson Haas. So they're kind of rotating 3 tight ends in Buffalo. And he faces a Chiefs defense allowing the 4th fewest fantasy points to tight ends over the last month. Too little volume, too tough of a matchup. Kincaid is a fade for me this week.
Yeah, I definitely like that call.
Yeah, hard to disagree.
Fab, what about you? Tight end love or hate this week?
Well, if you're going to be sitting Dalton Kincaid, you should be starting this guy instead. Colston Loveland. I love me some Colston Loveland. Not because of the name, just because of the matchup. Because he's playing at Cincinnati. So again, you just start everybody versus Cincinnati. So we got a great matchup versus Cincinnati defense to give up the most fantasy points to every tight end that's ever played against them and their cousin. Bengals have given up 10 passing TDs. The next closest, the Bengals have given up 10 passing TDs to tight ends. The next closest are the Jets with 6. They've given up 80 targets to tight ends, 10 more than second place Packers. Most passing yards to tight ends, second most receptions to tight ends. You know where I'm going with this. And on top of all that, Cole Kmet is expected to miss this game, also missing last game as well, making Loveland primed for a high volume game. In fact, Loveland saw the highest target share last week when Kmet was out. I think he's a great plug-in flyer this week if you're tight end needy. I think it's an excellent streaming option, and I would fire him up with confidence.
I just have to say, with all the talk about Trey Hendrickson during the offseason, he's really not had a very good season so far. He hasn't had a sack in like over almost a month.
He's been injured too, yeah.
Yeah, he has been a little bit injured, I think.
Yeah.
But yes, you haven't heard about him whereas last year he was leading the league in sacks.
He led the league in
sacks. He led the league in sacks. Yeah. No, he's been a little bit quieter this year. I agree, but I guess it's due to injury. Plus, I mean, you have guys like Myles Garrett sacking the quarterback 5 times a game. So realistically,
I like the call. And I will end us off with a love as well this week. I love Zach Ertz, tight end 13 versus the Seahawks on Sunday Night Football. So Ertz has seen a minimum of 6 targets a game over the past 3 weeks while finding the end zone in 2 of the last 3 games. Though a tough showing on Monday Night Football, however, he had, a tough showing on Monday Night Football, but he was playing a Chiefs D, as we just mentioned, who are very stingy against the tight ends. And not the same thing could be said with his Week 9 opponent. While the Seahawks D has been very solid overall, they have given up double-digit fantasy points to 5 of the 7 starting tight ends they have faced, while also allowing 2 tandems to score 10 plus in the same game, while only giving up a total of 3 TDs. And none since Week 3. And if you rewind 2 weeks ago, you had Dalton Schultz, who went 9 for 98 versus them. So I like Ertz to have a solid outing. And I think it's really easy call over the likes of even Evan Ingram, the aforementioned Dalton Kincaid, and even Mark Andrews.
Good call.
Yep. Yeah, Mark Andrews, been hearing a lot of trade rumors about him.
Yeah, they're not really using him, so might as
No.
well try to get something for him, I guess. I hear Denver's in the market for a tight end after
Oh my
Mercedes.
goodness.
after allowing
Mercedes Lewis.
Mercedes
41.
Lewis
I
to
didn't even know
try
tight
out
ends
for
can
the
still play
team.
at that age. Good for him. Good
I'm
for
tired of
Mercedes
hearing his
Lewis.
name. I feel like my whole adult life I've heard Mercedes Lewis. Like, it's enough. Just retire. You're done.
Yeah.
100%.
And speaking of done, that will do it for another episode of the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast, guys. Please, please, please follow us and engage with us on all the social media platforms. You will not be disappointed. We love to engage with all of our fans, so the more the better, guys. So thanks again for listening, and we will see you as always next week. Raj, the music.
But Jimmy Graham might come back too.
Some would say the more the betterer. The more better.
The more betterer.
Roger
No,
Federer,
whenever
more
someone-
better.
Knack, whenever you do the whole wide receiver, like whenever you say, like, oh, running backs to this person, then you get wide receivers. Does anyone hear Colin Cowherd? Not Colin Cowherd.
Darren Pang.
What's his name? No, what's
Darren Pang?
jeez. He used to be a wide receiver for the Bengals. I forgot his name. No.
Hushmanzada?
TJ Hushmanzada.
No, he's a broadcaster with on like Sunday Night Football.
Chris
Collinsworth.
Kirk Collinsworth. When I
Collinsworth.
was a wide
Chris.
receiver, Chris Collinsworth. When I
This
was
guy.
a wide, I hear it on the back of my head.
Wow.
This guy is the type of guy. This guy's got some juice. Patrick Mahomes, man.
Wow.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
It's more Elvis, I think.
Come on, man. From the same side of the South. You know what I'm saying, man? Goes from the South. Come on, man. Roger, you know what I'm saying? Got South accent. Why are we still rolling? Why haven't we ended the podcast?
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone. Good luck this week.
Yeah, I'm all shook up. Goodbye.